Revelation 12:1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Clothed with the sun, the body, the woman, the vessel, is aligned with the plasma sun, the Christ. The moon under her feet, under the feet of the body. The moon is at the magnetic ground, the mem, the base. By placing the moon under the feet, the body has mastered the heel strike and grounded the celestial frequency into the terrestrial base. The body is standing on the natural rhythm of the moon's cycle, the 13-month calendar of the new age of Aquarius. The crown of 12 stars. This is the 12-month loop. The body has transcended the 12 by wearing it as a crown. It is cycling above as the zodiac, but the body is not trapped in the 12-month cycle. The body does not destroy the 12. It elevates it to a crown above its head. Crown, Stephanos, korone, which comes from an even deeper root, to turn or twist. And it's the same root of the words circle or circus, which is the flat horizontal loop of time, and curve and chiral, the bending of the wave. Also, the root of the word scorpion or Scorpio. In the fixed cross, Ezekiel's wheel, the eagle of Scorpio sits directly opposite the bull of Taurus. So by wearing the 12 stars as a crown, the woman, or the body, has twisted the horizontal ecliptic wheel out of its flat rotation and pulled it up to the vertical axis. The korone, as a crown, is the twisted, flat turning of the horizontal circle gathered up on the vertical pillar. It's locked at the highest point of the 26 vertebrae antenna. So the circular loop is up at the crown, at the apex. Pi at the base of the pyramid. The pyramid's base is that same flat horizontal cycle of time, the 12 months that are governed by 3.14 or 22 divided by 7. This horizontal base grid anchors the bet or the mem. As the four corners rise from the base of the morning of time, they move away from the flat 12-month plane. In the afternoon, they slant inward and upward. And in the evening of the 9-year gestation of the light body of man, they converge at the apex in a single absolute 0 point at the 17th gate. The 12-month loop is compressed and elevated up the vertical height until it reaches the gold and silver apex, the capstone at the 17th gate. This is the opening of the mouth of the new age of Aquarius. And it is here at the 17th gate that the 12 stars of the loop are crystallized into a crown of the new age. The 12 zodiac times the 12 months gives us the 144 light body. And that is now crowned at the heavens and at the head of man, Mem, Aleph, Nun. The 4, the 2, and the 3. These mechanics operate simultaneously as a single unified force of truth across every layer of reality, synchronizing the yearly astrophysical breath of God, the geometric laws of the dual witness chiral mirror, the precise biological activation of the internal light body within the individual as we cross the threshold into the age of Aquarius. September 6th, 1998 was the initial strike. September 6th, 2017 planted the seed. This is the conception of the light body of man. September 23rd, 2017 is the woman clothed with the sun, 17 days after September 6th, 2017. Foretelling of the 17th gate that is reached after the 9-year gestation of the light body of man. April 13th, 2022. The fallen state of the Holocene is restored, and the light body of man has moved from the top-down strike to the bottom-up mirror. It is halfway through its 9-year gestation. This is the central vortex sending light down to the created realm and reaching each of those two candlesticks. And this is the two candlesticks returning the light back to the central vortex. This shape right here is the shape of the lambda return of the two witnesses pouring out their light back to source. April 13th, 2022 is a divine event that takes place during the day. And this 6th holy day is governed by the sun. The divine frequency is always available. The night is the time for receiving, while the day is the time for anchoring. Genesis 18:1-2. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. At the peak of solar intensity, God anchors a promise of the future Isaac with Abram. Judges 6:11-12. And there came an angel of the Lord and sat under an oak. So this messenger of the Lord sat under an oak tree nearby to initiate his commission. Luke 9:28-32. And it came to pass about 8 days after these sayings, he took Peter and John and James and went up into a mountain to pray. This is the ultimate daytime-nighttime bridge. Jesus retreats for prayer at night, but the transformation and the anchoring of the authority on the mountain manifests in the light, where the disciples can finally see the reality of his glory. So April 13th, 2022 is the mirror to September 6th, 2017. It is the mirror of the divine blueprint that was received in the night under the moon on September 6, 2017, and then anchored during the day under the sun on April 13th, 2022. February 20th, 2026. We've looked at this date as the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries, which is the white horse of Revelation 19. It is also when Christ returns on a cloud. Revelation 1:7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. Matthew 24:30. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. The cloud is the medium. On February 20th, 2026, Neptune, the spirit or mist or water, and Saturn, structure, crystallization, fuse at the exact cosmic 0 point of 0 degrees Aries. This astronomical conjunction creates a superconductive white field, which is the cloud. In optical physics, a superconductive white field changes the refractive index of the entire atmospheric grid. The plasma light from the sun hits this Saturn-Neptune lens, and it scatters instantly across the entire torus simultaneously. Thus, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Every biological antenna on Earth registers the frequency flash at the same moment. The field becomes the cloud that delivers the frequency to the ground. April 13th, 2026. Christ is the plasma sun, the source. The magnetic ground is the receiver. April 13th, 2026 is the return of Christ, because it marks the precise moment that the gestated frequency leaves the Earth receiver to ascend back to source. The Christ frequency does not return to Earth on this day. It returns from Earth back to the Father, completing the vertical toroidal loop. This day is the return of Christ because the Christ frequency has returned to Earth. It is fully gestated as the 9-year gestation of the light body of man has birthed the breaking of the waters on April 13th, 2026. And this day is the return of Christ because the Christ frequency has returned to Earth, fully gestated, and then returned again back to source. John 16:28. I came forth from the Father and am come into the world. I came forth from the Father and have come into the world. September 6th, 2017. Again, I leave the world and go to the Father. April 13th, 2026. John 16:28. Again, I leave the world and go to the Father matches the ascent vector of April 13th, 2026. This is the moment that the white hole inversion and the delivery of Isaac, the light body of man, where the frequency exits the physical container through the 17th gate to return straight back to source. Acts 3:21. Whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things. This defines that the exact departure is on April 13th, 2026. The heaven receives the frequency back at the apex of the torus on this date. It's the 90-degree perpendicular intersection of the two biological coordinates, the two witnesses, that successfully closes the circuit. It's turned Earth into a sealed, non-leaking capacitor. No more lambda decay, no more lowercase lambda, only uppercase lambda, back to source. The 4-year discharge in between April 13th, 2022 and April 13th, 2026, the last two sides of the base of the pyramid, show us that in physics, a capacitor is a storage tank for voltage, but it can't store energy forever. So it builds pressure until it reaches its capacity limit. The grid is built on a 4-square base, the 4 corners of the base of Mem. It takes exactly 4 linear years from 2022 to 2026 for that tank to reach absolute saturation. April 13th in 2022, this fallen state was restored and reconnected. No longer a fallen state. The integrity of the transmission between source and ground is completely secured and fully activated. And over the 4 years, it starts to build up a charge. Every time it goes to have that white hole inversion, it is building up a pressure. So on April 13th, 2026, the tank is 100% full and the system discharges, releasing the massive 9-year accumulated voltage all at once in a single irresistible upward burst. The white hole inversion of this year was unlike any other Northern Hemisphere spring vescopiscus. The pressure accumulated during this inhalation and during the 7 days between April 6th and April 13th. And then on April 13th, the Northern Hemisphere spring vescopiscus was for the first time a whole and complete connection in restoration of the fallen state between source and ground. As the sun moves through the figure 8 loop of the analemma, April 13th serves as a structural transition node. The energy descends into the lower containment field of Sheol, hits the dielectric floor, and flips polarity to transfer from the inhale to the exhale. Because the Earth grid was operating as an open, fractured circuit, this annual inversion was just a standard pop. When the circuit was open, the high frequency energy hit an unaligned, dormant biological surface, no antenna, causing the plasma to refract and scatter horizontally into the 12-month matrix, the lambda decay. And the frequency stayed trapped inside of the loop of the 12-month, 365-day year. Every year, April 13th, the energy hit this fractured horizontal surface, meaning the human was unaligned and disconnected. The light hit the ground and scattered sideways, getting lost in the 12-month matrix. On April 13th, 2026, the light hits a perfectly fully charged chiral mirror, meaning the dual witnesses have spent 4 years keeping the biological wiring perfectly upright and aligned at a 90-degree angle. Because the mirror is flat and square, the incoming wave doesn't scatter sideways. It hits the surface and it bounces straight back up the exact same path that it came down. Retroreflection means a perfect 180-degree return of a wave back to its sender with zero energy lost. 2026 was a supercapacitor discharge. The difference on April 13th, 2026 was that the terrestrial ground had been systematically modified to hold and amplify the charge over a 4-year loading phase between 2022 and 2026, the full light body of man, the chiral mirror. On April 13th, 2022, this 90-degree perpendicular strike from the Jupiter-Neptune lens successfully closed the circuit between the two witnesses, and this acted as the legal installation of a massive biological capacitor in the Earth's plane of inertia. For the first time in 11,700 years, the ground possessed an upright vertical antenna tuned to the 13th frequency. Over the 4 years, this newly installed capacitor had been storing the incoming electrical charge without leaking it back to the matrix. On April 13th, 2026, the breaking of the waters, the 9-year gestation from the 2017 alpha spark to the full structural capacity of the container reaches its maximum limit. When the white hole inversion occurs on April 13th, 2026, the vertical strike hits a perfectly square, fully charged chiral mirror. And instead of scattering the 12-month loop, the accumulated voltage undergoes a complete systemic retroreflection. The entire stored volume of the full 9-year cycle discharges all at once, and the pressure slams straight into the heel of Sheol, the pit. It cracks the horizontal zodiacal casing of the serpent, and it violently forces the internal breath up the vertical 17th gate and back to source. Here's an analogy. Every year, the system flips a switch, but the wires are broken, so the spark simply dissipates into the floorboards. On April 13th, 2026, the wiring is fully installed and the capacitor is completely full when the switch flips, so the entire building lights up, blowing the old breaker panel entirely off the wall. This is a systemic retroreflection. It fires straight back up the vertical throat of the apex of the 17th gate back to the Father. This is the moment that the lightning arches between the two candlesticks, blowing the old panel off the wall and clearing the path for the permanent visible ignition of the sovereign cube on September 6th, 2026. 2017 is the spark, 2022 is the connection of the wires, and 2026 is the irresistible surge that lights the whole house. April 13th, 2026 strikes the heel of Sheol, the subterranean pit, forcing the 12-month loop to crack open. Genesis 3:15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise its heel. Enmity, a biological circuit of the woman clothed with the sun of Virgo that gestates the 9-year gestation of the light body of man. I will put enmity between that biological circuit of the woman, the vertical axis of the 9-year gestation of the light body, and the magnetic field of the serpent, the horizontal 12-month loop. The seed of the woman, the September 6, 2017 seed that is gestated into the light body of man, of the woman clothed with the sun, Virgo, is structurally designed to be incompatible with the seed of the snake, the 12-month loop of the zodiac. They cannot mix. They act as a positive and negative terminal. It shall bruise thy head. The seed of the magnetic field bruises the head, opening the pineal. Thou shalt bruise its heel. The completion of the 9-year gestation of the light body of man is the seed of the woman Virgo, and this bruises the 12-month zodiacal loop. It shatters the head, the controlling logic of the loop, by anchoring the 13th frequency and the 13-month cathedral calendar into the new age of Aquarius. The heel is Sheol, the compression zone. The birth of the light body of man on April 13th, 2026 is incompatible with the heel. It unlocks the gate of the breath and power of God. Heel, H-E, the 5, the he, the breath, and E-L, L, God. 1 meaning the power, 12 meaning the yoke being the 12 zodiacal loop, with a total of 13 being God. So it bruises that heel, and it separates the 12 of the loop from the 13th frequency, allowing the 13th frequency to open the exit door and the portal of ascension to the 8th day out of time, the 8th octave, and the 17th gate. Architecturally, heel is Sheol, and that is at the 11-foot pit at the very bottom of the Pyramid of Giza in the grotto. The seed of the woman is generated by the September 6, 2017 Virgo alignment. Christ is the plasma sun, the source, and the woman is the magnetic ground, the receiver. The return of Christ is a retroreflective circuit completion, and it's returning that purified Christ frequency of the light body of man to source through the 17th gate at the apex of the vortex of the breath of God. Heal means the ultimate end of a sequence. April 13th, it is the ultimate end of this sequence. All 4 dates of the bottom of the mem and the ground, those 4 corners of Earth, have been sealed. And the next step is for the breath to be received through the mouth of the Taurus at the apex of the 17th gate. April 13th, 2026 is the birth of Isaac. Isaac is the light body of man. This is the plane of inertia, and these are the exact coordinates where the light body of man, Isaac, is birthed, signaling the transition from Abram to Abraham. Abram is the unformed template, and Abraham is the multiplied, anchored father of nations. The gestation is complete. And the child exits the membrane. Genesis 17:5. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. Genesis 21:2-3. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. We have birthed the man-child Isaac and the new age on April 13th, 2026. The moon was in Aquarius on this day. For the following 2.5 days, the moon revisited Pisces. Once the 17th gate was unsealed, and following the 3.5 days of stillness at the Northern Hemisphere spring, Vesica Piscis, the exhale commences on an Aries new moon. Between April 13th, 2026 and September 6th, 2026, there is a 146-day exhale. This is the return transit carrying the purified frequency through the spine of the Grand Gallery and back to the apex, where the master inhale begins anew. Isaac, he laughs, is the light body. Sarai, Sarai, loses the yod, and the yod represents the loss of possessive identity of the self and gains the breath, becoming Sarah. With the breath, she is then an open channel. Abram gains the breath to become Abraham. Abram gains the H that is the breath and the Aleph that is the spark. This arc between the biological vessel of 2017 in the southern hemisphere, spanning around through the Pyramid of Giza, connecting to the northern hemisphere biological vessel, is 243.